starting the stream. do, 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 do. Where to go? Where to go? Where to go? What do you want to do?
Selection begins in 3, 2, 1.
I don't want to do Ocean Park.
Not now. Let's see what happens. It's 4 guys. They spread out, that's all. Fuck is our 4th? Oh, yeah, look at that dick. Yeah, good job. He's dead first.
That's me.
Oh. Yeah, you're dead first.
Come on.
There's 5 teams, bro.
Go in the green one.
Oh.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So there's got to be more than just one team.
That's probably 2 teams.
Yeah, we're all fucked.
You are all fucked. Yep, fuck. No guns.
One down. I killed him. Oh, I'm down.
Oh my god! I'm dead. Fucking shot first. I fucking blasted that guy in his chest and nothing.
Go in the lobby. I killed my guy.
I should have went to the shotgun. I was so close. I would have totally put that guy down.
I killed my guy. You guys have to do your job. Oh, I got first blood. I guess I'm the first one to kill somebody. Is that what that means?
Aye.
The summit so far marked by some tense interactions, including a few with French President Emmanuel Macron, are adding to that tension. This new video that surfaced last night showing several of those same leaders seeming to gossip about President Trump. The pool video was first noticed by the CBC
I like
microphones,
Emer's Island, man.
which
I
can
don't
only
know.
pick up
I like that
fragments
fucking
of the
Oriental
conversation.
place.
Listen.
Good loot.
Hello, hello.
Selection begins in 3, 2, 1.
These people are stupid.
Someone's always watching.
Stupid.
As you can see there, they don't mention Trump by name, but he was the only NATO leader who held a 40-plus minute press conference. Add it all up, and the day is sure
Fuck
to
it,
be a
let's just go
test of
here.
the president's diplomatic skill.
Hopefully it's just one team spread out.
On the basis of the testimony and the evidence before the House, President Trump has committed impeachable high crimes and misdemeanors by corruptly abusing the office of the presidency.
What has happened in the case today is something that I do not think we have ever seen before. A president who has doubled down on violating
Come on,
his
guy.
oath to faithfully execute the laws and to protect and defend
Go,
the
go, go.
Constitution.
I'm concerned
Come on,
about
guy.
lowering impeachment
Come on.
standards to fit a
Look at
paucity
the top.
of evidence and an abundance of anger. I believe this impeachment not only fails to satisfy the standard of past impeachments, but would create a dangerous precedent for future impeachments.
If what we're talking about is not impeachable, then nothing is impeachable. This is precisely the misconduct that the framers created a constitution, including impeachment, to protect against.
If the president uses his office for personal gain, the only
Where are you?
recourse available
Fighting, hold on.
under the Constitution is for him
I'm
to be
stuck.
impeached, because the president cannot be, as a practical matter, charged criminally while he is in office, because the Department of Justice works for the president. The only mechanism available for a president who tries to distort the electoral process for personal gain is to impeach him. That is why we have impeachment.
The Constitution of the United States does not care whether the next president
Whoa,
is
help me.
Donald J. Trump or
I have
any
nothing
one
to
of
fight
the
with.
Democrats or anybody running on a third party. The Constitution
Where is he?
is indifferent. Is that we have free elections.
Constitution,
That guy's on me.
law of the land,
Coming down.
specifies bribery as a ground of impeachment,
Running up.
as it specifies other.
What are you doing?
Bribery had a clear. If the House believes that the president solicited something of
I
the
thought you
government
came
in
inside.
the
What the
form
fuck are you doing in
of
I'm fucking
outdoors?
hiding and
announcement
healing.
of investigation,
I couldn't move. I was
he did
pinned
so
down. I
corruptly
see he's in the
for
fucking
personal
window.
Gain, then that would constitute bribery under the meaning of the Constitution, and it would not be lawless. It would be bribery under the law.
The statement has been made, not just by these witnesses, but Chairman Schiff and others, that this is a clear case of bribery. It's not. And if you can't make that, then don't call it that crime. If it doesn't matter, then
thought you
what's
came
the
inside.
point? Call it treason.
There
Call
was
it
no way to
endangered
get
species
inside.
violations. If none of this matters.
If
I had
Washington
fucking
were here
20 bullets
today,
in my gun.
If he were joined by
I had
Madison,
no
Hamilton, and other
bullets in
framers,
any gun.
what do
I
you
didn't have a
believe they
gun.
would say if
You should have went to the roof. The roof of that building had guns. I left there because I
believe
thought
the
you were going
framers
up
would
there.
identify President
I
Trump's
went to the roof of
conduct
that building.
as
There was
exactly
nothing there.
the kind of
Come on.
abuse of office, high crime and misdemeanor that they were worried about, and they would want the House of Representatives to take appropriate action to impeach.
Impeachments require a certain period of saturation and maturation. That is, the public has to catch up. I'm not prejudging what your record would show, but if you rush this impeachment, you're going to leave half the country behind.
Professor Turley, would you agree that the evidence compiled to date by House Democrats during these current impeachment proceedings fails to meet the standard of clear and convincing evidence?
I do, by a considerable measure.
Now let me turn again to the book, To End a
Selection
Presidency.
begins
In
in
that book,
3,
the authors state the
2,
following, quote, except in the
1.
most extraordinary circumstances, impeaching with a partial or
going there.
plausibly contested understanding of key facts
No.
is a bad idea.
I'm not
Professor
interested in
Trilly, do you
doing
think that impeaching in this case would constitute impeaching with a partial or plausibly contested understanding of key facts?
I'll go here.
I think that that's clear because this is one of the thinnest records ever to go forward on impeachment. I mean, the Johnson record, once again, we can debate because that was the fourth attempt at an impeachment.
Where's the other customer?
But this is
Where's the other guy
certainly
at?
the thinnest of a modern record. If you take a look at the size of the
Pick a
record
spot.
of Clinton
Maybe we got a
and
fucking
Nixon,
AFK.
they were massive in comparison to this, which is almost wafer thin in comparison. And it has left doubts, not just doubts in the minds of people supporting President Trump, doubts in the minds of people like myself about what actually occurred. There's a difference between requesting investigations and a quid pro quo. You need to stick the landing on the quid pro quo. You need to get the evidence to support it. It might be out there, I don't know, but it's not in this record. I agree with my colleagues. We've all read the record, and I just come to a different conclusion. I don't see proof of a quid pro quo, no matter what my presumptions, assumptions, or bias might be.
And we just heard when Republicans had the opportunity to ask questions, a lengthy monologue from their witness, the Republicans' witness, Professor Jonathan
into the
Turley,
House.
saying that he does not think
Why?
that as of
'Cause
now
fucking there's bad
anything has
people
been
over there.
proven that
seen
rises
him?
to the level of high crimes and
Yeah.
misdemeanors.
Right. What I thought was interesting about Professor
goddamn
Turley's
mouth.
testimony was his confidence that there was
Heard
not
somebody glide.
enough evidence yet, that the Democrats are rushing this process, that they
That guys
should
are right
get
there.
more evidence if they want to do something as profound as impeaching a president.
And
What
bad guy
I
in my
thought
face.
was missing from his testimony was any acknowledgement at
motherfucker,
all
would you just
that
go?
the Democrats have tried to get a lot of this evidence, that they have subpoenaed witnesses, that they have
Get on
sought
me.
documents, they have
I'd have
sought
died.
emails,
Have a
and
helmet on.
they have not been denied piecemeal.
Where
They
is
have
he?
not been said, well, you can have this, but not that.
Fucking right
they
here.
have been told you can have nothing,
Indoors?
which is
Get
unprecedented
this
in
gun here.
American history. Richard Nixon, when he was under impeachment investigation, cooperated with the investigation. He didn't cooperate entirely, but Bill Clinton cooperated. But the idea that you can stonewall about every single piece of evidence and then
fuck.
have it held
Oh, you came out.
Oh, there's two of them.
that you haven't gotten enough evidence is really a pretty extraordinary
Some
position.
asshole.
I'm not a lawyer,
Why
but
are we
what
so
does
bad
it
at this
tell
game?
you when the Republican witness is not saying the president did nothing wrong? He's not saying the Democrats have proven nothing. He is saying you're disrespecting the courts. You should wait longer and litigate this. And you might, he actually said, you might get there. You're not there yet in his view in terms
we
of
had the
because you
fucking-
don't have direct
we had
testimony
that.
from someone who could say the president told us to do this
pull
and
the
the president said it would benefit him politically because, to Jeff's point, they won't let Secretary Pompeo go up. They won't let Mick Mulvaney, the acting chief of staff, who was key to the budget decisions, withholding the aid, go up, and other officials. But the Republican witness is not saying the president is innocent. He is saying that I think you're rushing this, and until you get the first-hand witnesses who are in the room with the president, that's just wrong.
And 30 years ago, the founders were so worried about their fragile republic, they felt they needed an impeachment clause. How to get rid of a president before they even decided how to elect him. Thomas Jefferson called it a formidable weapon.
We have to remember that the great fear of the Constitutional Convention delegates was tyranny.
They had just recently had a revolution. They had broken away from a monarchy. Power was a very big concern.
They trusted George Washington to be the first president to put the state's interest before his own. But Benjamin Franklin warned, nobody knows what sort may come afterwards.
How do we rein
I'm
in
finding 4x
a
scopes right out of the
president?
gate, too. It's starting to piss me off.
Knew that they had to do something to stop
Selection
tyrants,
begins in
despots.
3,
As North Carolina's
2,
Hugh Williamson
1.
said, he will spare no pains to keep himself in for life and will
I actually
then
like
lay
this
a
fisherman's
train
town.
for the succession of his children. But what would warrant impeachment? James Madison worried a president might lose his capacity, pervert his
This might be one team
administration,
now.
or even
Where's
worse,
the other guy at?
betray his trust to foreign powers.
This is a theme that George Washington hammers over and over again. No.
I think if he doesn't pick, he just spawns on one of us anyway.
Yeah, I know. That's not the
And
point.
in the 18th century, impeachment was certainly more civilized than the alternative.
Before there was impeachment, the only course would be assassination.
Ha!
Better
They
to
left.
be put on trial, Franklin argued, than to face the knife.
After much debate, the
fucking
Constitutional
left.
Congress settled on these charges: treason,
That sucks. I was
bribery,
looking forward to
or
that
other
again.
high crimes and misdemeanors.
It's actually remarkably simple. It's a crime against the state, a crime against the people. You don't need to break a law to commit a high crime.
Committee will come to order.
The founders expected the process
Yeah, I was gonna
would
throw
be
a fucking
partisan,
grenade right
but
when I
they
was getting
probably
shot at.
didn't envision this.
President Zelensky, quote, loves her ass. Was there a quid pro quo? The answer is yes.
Or this.
A corrupt witch hunt. It was a perfect call. A perfect call. This is a hoax.
What do you think the founders would think about Donald Trump?
Oh boy. I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. Let me answer it this way. Tyranny was one of the main things that the founding generation was worried about. Demagoguery was the second one.
James Madison and Donald Trump have nothing in common. But the Trump character was alive and well. Revolution, somebody with blarney and salesmanship, a penchant for being a demagogue. Those characters have existed.
I will say this town is the best for scopes.
But whether you think Donald Trump is guilty or innocent
I found
of
multiple
high
4
crimes
times
and
immediately.
misdemeanors, the underlying questions today are exactly what the founders were concerned about.
What if a president perhaps had lied? What if a president worked with a foreign power? What if a president started to make money off the office of the presidency? That's a president that should be removed.
Georgia Republican Governor Brian Kemp is planning to break with President Trump. Two sources tell CNN that he will appoint Atlanta businesswoman Kelly Loeffler to fill a soon-to-be vacant Senate seat against President Trump's wishes. That's despite the president campaigning for the governor last year.
He is somebody that will be a great governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp.
Instead, a source says President Trump lobbied the governor to tap Congressman Doug Collins, an ardent supporter of the president who's been fighting against the impeachment inquiry as the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee.
The Judiciary Committee has become a giant Instagram filter to make you appear that something's happening that's not.
Last month, Kemp brought Loeffler on a secret trip to the White House to meet the president. According to an official familiar with the meeting, the president was frustrated and urged Kemp to appoint Collins.
I appreciate the support that I've received from the president and many others. I have a big job to do in the next 3 weeks, and that's impeachment. We'll let to see where the governor goes with this pick, and then we'll have a decision to make after that.
Georgia Senator Johnny Isaacson gave his final speech on the Senate floor on Tuesday and will step down at the end of the year.
Thank you for your support and your friendship to me.
Although he was initially up for re-election in 2022, Georgia election rules would force Loeffler to run for the Senate next year, meaning both Georgia Senate seats will be on the ticket in November. But in a time when crossing the president could mean dire political consequences, Kemp is still expected to choose Loeffler. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is throwing his full support behind that decision.
Sounds to me like the governor of Georgia made a terrific appointment. She will be an incumbent Republican senator. We will all be behind her. Everything I've heard about her is extremely, I think she's going to be terrific.
But many conservative groups do not think Loeffler is ideologically aligned with the party on many social issues. And some of President Trump's staunchest supporters are blasting Kemp for defying the president, including Congressman Matt Gaetz, who tweeted, "You are ignoring his request because you think you know better than POTUS," and threatening, "Maybe you need a primary in 2022. Let's see if you can win one without Trump." Collins is not ruling out challenging Loeffler in 2020.
That'll be a decision we have to make at that point.
Just throw it out. I'll explain later.
The impeachment
Where I put all
report
the wet
has
rags.
a welcome surprise. New proof in the form of phone records. They raise some
And so I said
questions,
I'll
but more
explain later
importantly, they
the story,
answer
and I'm just
others.
telling it right now.
About what? Knowledge, involvement of people around this president and Trump himself and his chief defender, the ranking member of the very committee doing the investigation, Republican Devin Nunes. Now, in the $435 million suit that
30.
Mr. Nunes filed against CNN today,
In the fucking
he
dryer.
attacks us for reporting anything that could come from Giuliani associate Lev Parnas. He calls Parnas a fraud and a hustler. Well, if it's not okay to get information from Parnas, how does Mr. Nunes explain this?
That means
4
quick
separate phone calls with Parnas.
Just
with
do
his
a
name
quick
on them.
dryer cycle
Why
for
didn't
20
he
minutes.
mention them when he kept arguing that there was nothing to any of this talk about Parnas and Rudy's efforts? Well, I guess the answer may be in the
I
question.
need an extended clip
Regardless,
for
Run the
it
dryer.
telegraphs a lot, and the timing is key. 2 rounds of phone calls, April 10,
fuck it,
April
what do you call
12.
it?
Why? Same time, Trump mouthpiece and Fox employee John Solomon starts publishing
you call it,
stories
AR, 'cause I
hyping
have one.
the Russian-backed fiction.
No,
Ukraine
sniper.
actually messed with the 2016
Extended mag.
election, not Russia. Solomon was working the phones with Giuliani. Giuliani was in touch with Nunes and Parnas, as well as the folks in the White
story I
House
don't feel like
and
telling.
the OMB. Mick Mulvaney still runs it. He's
Lot
the
of
acting
action
chief of
around
staff.
here.
They're in control of when the aid goes. That's early April.
I just don't feel like
After
explaining it
Mueller's
right now.
finding went to the DOJ.
Come on, we're
early
going.
April. But before the full
Shut
report
off
came
the
out.
fucking light,
So
I
the
can't
question
see.
is raised. So
Oh.
were they hustling to create a distraction from the Mueller report? Some suggestion that Ukraine is behind this election interference. Forget the Russia report. Then, less than 2 weeks later, on April
it's not that
23rd and
fucking
April
serious.
24th, another series of calls between Giuliani, Parnas, and White House officials. So one thing's for sure, this Parnas is not just some, guy on the outside who doesn't know anything.
What?
He's in there.
Right here.
Now we know that Rudy took credit for getting the U.S.
What happened?
ambassador removed, but the day she was ordered home, he talked to the White House 8 times. All right?
Don't know if this works.
The next day, Joe Biden officially announced he
Nope.
was running for the White House.
Can't use that.
That's all before you even get to the president's self-proclaimed perfect phone call with his
I'm
Ukrainian
using
counterpart.
MK12, so.
We now know for sure what the president wanted. The
didn't know
question
that
for the
was a sniper
Democrats
rifle.
is,
Shotgun.
can you show that that's why aid was withheld? That takes us to August 8th. Mark
MK12 is
Sandy
the old
at
school
OMB, the
MK12.
agency that controlled the aid, remember, he testified. He says at about that time, Trump's
we have to
political
go?
appointee at
We'll see,
OMB
huh?
took control of the money that was supposed to be going to Ukraine. Why? Sandy complained that the hold on that aid may be illegal. August 8th, Giuliani made some 19 calls or texts with either the White House or OMB. Around the same time, Sondland, Volker, Giuliani, they're talking deliverables with
Anybody
Ukrainians.
find a,
Same time he's with OMB about who
sniper
controls the
extended
money.
mag?
They're talking with Ukraine about what they have to do to get the money. The only piece of evidence that muddies what seems to be a clear effort to pressure Ukraine to go after the Bidens and some conspiracy theory, if they wanted the money, is one phone call. This mysterious September 9th phone call where the president said all the right things to Sondland. Remember, he made those notes, checked every box. He even used the Latin phrase that the whistleblower did in the complaint that wouldn't come out until later, but was already known about by the president. The intel report points this out. A call on September 9th, which would have occurred in the middle of the night, is at odds with the weight of the evidence, but more importantly, not backed up by any records the White House was willing to provide Ambassador Sondland. If that call didn't exist or whatever, is confused with another call, then what proof is there that this president wasn't doing exactly what it looks like? If Mueller had phone records like this, who knows what else he would have brought to bear in that probe. Now, they once again inform the obvious. This wasn't one perfect call. It was a highly imperfect alliance of lots of pieces, players, all in the service of a POTUS with a poisoned pursuit. One that appears to have started
for
as
that
a
drop?
cover for the Mueller report and culminated with a president abusing his power by pressuring a foreign power to help him politically. Now, if there are other explanations for the calls and the testimony, we
Yes.
welcome it. This is about the truth. But choosing to ignore
This guy
all
just
this
took off without me.
only makes what it looks like look more obvious.
The phone records, again, that were revealed in today, also show an apparently obscured -1 phone
Guys
number
coming in on you.
that Giuliani called. The New York Times is now reporting that you're investigating if that number is the president himself. Can you confirm that?
Well, we can't confirm yet who that -1 number belongs to, but
I don't know where they went. They're around there somewhere.
In the trial of Roger Stone, that when he was communicating
hear
with
me
the
again?
president, it would show up in phone records as a -1 number. But here you have Rudy Giuliani in communication with the Office of Management and Budget, in communication with the White House, and you also have presidential conduct in the form of tweets and other actions around the timing of different communications. And so we still have a lot of work to do in terms of identifying precisely who Giuliani was talking with and about what at what times in this chronology. But even in
behind
the
us,
absence
behind
of
us.
that, the evidence is overwhelming that the president is
twice?
using Giuliani to coerce Ukraine into these investigations. That's documented in text messages, witness testimony. But nonetheless, we continue to chase out other leads, and these phone records provide other leads.
So you are still investigating that particular phone call. You said you couldn't confirm that it was the president's number. I understand that. But you are, that is, can you confirm that you are investigating that?
We certainly are investigating that. And look, Rudy Giuliani had only one client in the administration, and that was Donald Trump. So who is he talking to in the course of this smear campaign against Yovanovitch? Who is he talking to in the pursuit of these political investigations in Ukraine? There is certainly circumstantial evidence as to who those numbers might belong to in OMB. Obviously, Mick Mulvaney is involved in this scheme, but also the President of the United States.
You have a drone, right?
Two guys in a fucking
Tonight,
face.
Kamala Harris ending her campaign with final words for President Trump. The president mocking Harris, tweeting after she dropped out of the race. Too bad. California senator responding within minutes. Don't worry, Mr. President. I'll see you at your trial, referring to the Senate impeachment. Harris had surged to the top of the pack before plunging to the polls.
I'm down. Right here in front of me.
It is with deep regret, but also with deep gratitude, that I am suspending our campaign today.
Senator Kamala Harris announced the sudden end to what began as a campaign of potential and promise. At her launch in January, thousands packed downtown Oakland, California.
Let's do this!
An attention-grabbing moment. Harris
Guy's
would have
still over
another
there somewhere.
at the first Democratic debate when she
behind a
launched
tree.
an attack on former Vice President Joe
tree, 'cause he
Biden
can
on his
probably shoot you from
opposition to federally mandated busing to desegregate schools decades ago.
You know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Her poll numbers soared.
There he is.
Those campaign highs wouldn't last.
Where is he?
Harris struggled to stay in a clear position in a crowded Democratic field. On healthcare, she seemed to say she could get rid of private insurance.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Then she
Who threw
backtracked.
grenades?
It was in the context of saying, let's get rid of all the bureaucracy. Let's get all of the ways.
Oh, not the insurance companies.
No.
And then a lack of clarity on her message, shifting from one central theme to the next.
We got two dead so far.
Talking about my 3 a.m. agenda.
Justice is on the ballot in 2020, and that's why I'm running for president.
The costs
my drone
piled
up.
up while her poll numbers plummeted. Harris refocused on Iowa just weeks ago, projecting confidence.
Listen, we're going to do well in Iowa, and I'm sure of that.
She was getting some good advice at some points in this campaign, but she followed it up with flops. She
That has a lot
got
of
some
4
her
times and
answers
everything on
wrong,
it.
Didn't know where she stood on important issues, backtracked.
Gil Duran was a senior advisor for Harris when she was California's
I have an 8
Attorney
times
General.
now.
This is my sister Maya.
Sources tell CNN the campaign suffered from infighting. Harris's sister Maya was the campaign chair, sharing a leadership role with
guy
campaign
have,
manager
help?
Juan Rodriguez, leading to confusion among the
Little bags.
You can't find a way to resolve
go.
tensions between one of your longtime aides
Fuck it,
and
don't
your
matter,
own
let's go.
family
We're
members.
going.
And it's not clear why you should be put in charge of a lot more than that.
my
I
last
think
game.
the
I don't know
country
if my
was
wife's
ready
home.
for a leader like Kamala Harris. I don't think Kamala Harris was ready to lead the country.
Yeah, because the time's
She's
running.
young,
That's
and
why
haven't
we have to
seen
get
the last
saved.
of her.
most things about the Donald Trump administration. One unique element, the presence of the president's daughter, Ivanka Trump, and her relationship to First Lady Melania Trump.
Careful.
Glamorous stepmother and stepdaughter since 2005. But it was 2016 during the Trump presidential campaign.
My father,
I have an 8-time scoop.
When the dynamic between the two women shifted
Stop.
to politics. Most times on the campaign trail,
hello, Iowa.
Melania Trump not interested in doing traditional spousal
Don't forget about your
appearances.
fucking, what do you call it,
So
to
it
get
was
away.
Ivanka Trump as surrogate who stepped into the role.
I just want to thank you, honey, because great job.
Staying on as the female face of the administration and the
No,
family
that's not.
after Trump became president.
This is the first U.S. government, all of government, approach to empowering women
Your glider.
in the developing world.
Taking on as senior advisor some of the more traditional First Lady issues involving women, child care credit, and female entrepreneurship.
A real power named Ivanka. And she would call me and she would say, Daddy, you don't understand. You must do this.
Flying it towards the safe zone.
Creating an odd dynamic, switching off front seat, back seat as the two women in Trump's orbit. A relationship that one source with knowledge of the relationship says has created a, quote, cordial but not close dynamic, and at times friction. There are similarities that have reportedly caused static.
This is a very special place. I will never forget.
Melania Trump's first big solo trip was to Africa, and Ivanka's first big solo trip was also to Africa. Melania Trump was the first to introduce highly produced mini videos of her events for public consumption.
Guys, right here in my
Ivanka
face. Guys in
now
the face
makes
right
her
here.
own short films with voiceovers and music. On trips with Trump, when Melania goes, Ivanka's profile diminishes. Doesn't.
Mike, beauty of the beast.
Ivanka often. In a way, sharing one key component.
I give him many advices, but sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't.
Fucking.
Both have the ear of the president.
I'm candid
Guys
in my
out there.
opinions, and I share them, solicited or otherwise.
Kate Bennett, CNN, Washington.
You got a drone, right?
Richard.
There's a line here on page 3. The impeachment inquiry has found that President Trump personally and acting through agents within and outside of the U.S. government solicited the interference of a foreign government, Ukraine, to benefit his reelection. To your point, how embarrassing. He's there for NATO. He's with the Queen of England right now. Everybody knows what's going on. It's like the 800-pound elephant in the room. And America looks ridiculous right now. The question is, what are we going to do about it at home? I'm embarrassed as a lifelong Republican. I am embarrassed and ashamed of the Republican Party that not one person could stand up and say, this conduct is unacceptable.
Ow.
It's not about partisanship. It's about what's right and what's wrong. And it's a
This
shame
guy's
that not one Republican in the House has done that. I'm more hopeful
did. Knocked
this
down.
he had to leave the park, Justin Amash, right. But other than that, not one in the House. And I'm hoping Mitt Romney leads a charge like Margaret Chase Smith in the Senate, but I'm not optimistic there either.
Out of grenades.
Now, what does this mean for Americans? Why should they care about what the president did vis-a-vis Ukraine? Why should they care indeed about
Fucking
Ukraine?
I hate that guy.
First of all, this is not about Ukraine. This is about our democracy. This is about our national security. This is about whether the American people have a right to expect that the President of the United States is going to
You have any grenades? I don't have any grenades.
with their security in mind, and not for some illicit personal or political
God,
reason.
who has this many grenades?
So Americans should care deeply about whether the President of the United States
They get
is
shot from
betraying
behind. Watch out.
their trust in him.
Guys flying in on your right.
That
Right.
oath that we took to the
Am I right?
Constitution
Yeah,
to
right
protect
below,
our
right in there.
country and defend its institutions. So we should care about this. We must care about this.
Yeah.
And if we don't care about this, we
He's
can
on the
darn well
roof.
be assured the president will be back at it doing this all
I don't know
over
about all these
again.
guys. Where you going?
Because indeed he already
outta here.
has.
What are you talking about? You're
First,
not
there
going to
was
get
an
me?
invitation to
Oh,
Russia
you're alive?
to interfere in our last
Oh,
election.
whatever. I'm
Hey,
down.
Russia, if you're listening,
That's because I came out.
hack Hillary's emails, and indeed later that day they tried to do exactly that.
Right, whatever.
Ah, stupid.
But then there was
I would love to play, but I
the
can't.
use of this
Later.
official
I thought you were dead.
power
Everybody
to
on stream?
compel
Later.
another country